First up is Vice Chair Hewitt's bill, House File 3352. Representative Hewitt, would you like to move your bill?
I believe at this point the bill is being held over. Nope, oh, we're moving it.
You still need to move your bill.
Oh, yes, sorry. I would, Mr. Chair.
Representative Hewitt moves House File 3352 be laid over for consideration at a later date. Representative Hewitt, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Thank you for hearing the bill. It's great to be back in committee here. This is not a new bill to us. We've seen this bill before. We're just going to give it another try. However, there is an amendment. Can we take the amendment now?
Yes. Representative Hewitt, would you like to move the A1 amendment?
I would.
Representative Hewitt moves the A1 amendment. Representative Hewitt, could you discuss your amendment?
The A1 amendment basically gives a pause to the bill to let the Amateur Sports Commission to research and find out exactly the impact that this is going to have on their space.
Is there any discussion to the amendment to get the bill in the shape the author would like? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The A1 amendment is adopted. Representative Hewitt to the House File 3352 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and again, members, thank you for hearing the bill today. I'll try to go as fast as possible. I have two testifiers, one from the Minnesota High School League, the other one is from the Amateur Sports Commission. Real quickly, this bill actually would allow the Amateur Sports Commission, after a referral from a commissioner of a youth league or the high school league or even an official in this capacity, to levy a $1,000 fine against a unruly sports fan. This is not another bill that's run in parallel, that I have another hearing right after this one that actually charges a gross misdemeanor if an official in his or her line of duty is assaulted. This is basically one that will help us at this point deal with the problems that are uprising and that are continuing to elevate, when all of us have been there in that situation where we have somebody we're sitting next to or somebody that is a little bit more vocal. And we're not talking about bad call ref or maybe question to my eyesight. As most of you know, I'm a referee. We're talking about that person that oversteps the bounds, that walks out on the floor, that grabs the ref or grabs a player or goes after a coach. And so that kind of behavior, and frankly, I'm disgusted that I even have to do a bill like this, but we're at the point where we have to legislate morality, and this is a bill. So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to call the first testifier, Mr. Martin from the Minnesota High School League.
First up, Eric Martins, Executive Director, Minnesota State High School League. Director Martins, if you could introduce yourself for the record.
Good morning. My name is Eric Martins, and I'm the Executive Director at the Minnesota State High School League. Pleased to be here, Mr. Chair and members of the committee.
Proceed.
I would like to bring greetings from our league and more than 600 member schools, and appreciate the consideration here in finding ways to eliminate the highly disrespectful and unsafe behavior that a very small percentage of our fans display at youth sports events. We definitely appreciate Representative Hewitt's efforts to bring greater safety and respect to our officials, especially targeting those who engage in egregious and assaultive behavior. I also thank Representative Hewitt for stepping forward and assisting our schools by being an official with the Minnesota State High School League. Safe and respectful behavior has been a focus of the league for the last 2.5 years. We've done significant work. Just this fall, we hosted 9 regional meetings across the state with our students, culminating in a statewide conference at River Center with over 650 students and over 70 schools attending. Our focus is on making our events as respectful and safe for everyone that's involved. And what it comes to now is the primary piece of helping to make sure that all of our adult fans, and if it's student fans, amp up their behavior to the level that we need it to be to make sure that things are going to be safe. We need that strong example within our schools in order for them to be safe. Right? Any of the behaviors that Representative Hewitt described are the kind that put our games and our events in peril within our schools. And so we appreciate the work that's being done here. In just a quick estimation, just in the 5 sports of football, volleyball, soccer, hockey, and basketball, we have about 40,000 contests a year just in those 5 sports, and we have about 49 different activities that we have within the high school league. So this is important, and obviously there are youth sport levels far below the Minnesota State High School League that also have these needs. We currently do not have a tracking system, but we do get reports from our officials around these kinds of behaviors, and it is making a difference in a negative way when these things take place. It is becoming more and more difficult to retain the officials that we have, and certainly making it difficult to recruit officials. Our schools are stepping forward and actually offering officiating classes, and yet at the same time, we wonder what we're bringing our 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-olds into if we're not able to have those be safe. So we all know that these behaviors threaten the safety of our contests, and they threaten the current number of officials that we have currently, as well as the ability to grow. And we recognize the great appetite that our schools and our communities and our families have for youth sports. And so it's a priority to work on this. The league does not pretend to have all the answers as to how to work on this necessarily. We would leave it to Representative Hewitt and the committee to continue to work with us and others to determine the best path forward to keep our events as safe as they can. I really appreciate your time here this morning and your concern for the well-being of our students and our schools, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that anyone might have.
If we could get the next testifier, and then we'll do questions at the end, Mr. Chair, if that's possible.
Possible, yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Next up, Todd Johnson, Executive Director, Minnesota Amateur Sports Commission. Welcome, Director Johnson. If you could state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, my name is Todd Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Amateur Sports Commission. We've had some discussions about this bill, and I really want to raise or thank Representative Hewitt for bringing it forward. Obviously, the devil's in the details and the implementation piece, and I appreciate the amendment. I just saw this morning that gives us some time to contemplate what this regulatory scheme would look like, and to the extent that the Minnesota Amateur Sports Commission is responsible for putting this study together to report back to the legislature, we're happy to do that and to look at what that scheme would look like. Obviously, we come at it from the Minnesota Amateur Sports Commission from a couple of different points of view. Number one, this is a little outside of our scope right now. That doesn't mean that we wouldn't be willing to look at it, but our primary objective and charge in our statute is to create economic tourism or sports tourism through economic development, and we do that, and we do it in spades. And in the way that we do that, if you think about the events that we run, we are the largest amateur sports facility in the world. We run the 3rd largest soccer tournament in the world, youth soccer tournament. Referees are a critical piece of that. Sometimes our events, we limit the number of games because we cannot hire enough referees. And it's directly attributable to some of these actions. People don't want to do it. We do all we can to train referees to be involved in that piece of it. If you think about the entity that I oversee, the National Sports Center Foundation that runs the facility up in Blaine, it's about a $16 million affair, a business. We spent $1 million last year on referees between hockey, soccer, other sports. So it's a major component of the work that we do in terms of the regulatory scheme to enforce this and to be a piece of it. It's outside of our scope right now, but we're more than willing to study it, to look at best practices, to sort out whether or not there is a scheme that we can come up with and come back to the legislature and report to you all on what we feel would be the best way to administer this provision.
Thank you. And
Representative
Mr. Chair, if we could take the questions now, and then I'll summarize at the end.
First, is there anyone else who would like to testify for or against the bill? Anyone else? Representative Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. As somebody who spent countless years of my life on the sideline up in Blaine watching our oldest son play soccer, went on to play collegiate soccer, I saw parents and spectators at their very worst. It is sad that you do have to legislate growing up. There is a place for people to question the judgment of a referee who is a human and will make a mistake. Most people, I'll just opine, most people do not know what offsides in soccer is, and I wish that they would study that a little bit so they might, actually shut up. But I think it's a good reminder for us to to recognize that referees are fallible, and they will make a bad call, but adults who spill onto the court or the pitch or whatever have crossed the line. And I look forward to what the study might say. Thanks.
Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Representative Hewitt, you know, in talking with you, you mentioned that it's hard to get referees, that it's an aging profession, and perhaps we need to look at the question of recruiting and retaining and retraining to get more folks into doing this. Any comments on that?
Yeah, and Minnesota actually, and I found this out this morning, is looked at as a leader in training referees. I was telling the executive director in my office earlier that it's harder to maintain my certification for refereeing than it is my EMT license and my real estate license, actually. And so Minnesota is at the forefront of that. And referees take this very serious. Right now, if you want to do a state tournament, you have to watch a video every week and give feedback. And that's really important because, Mr. Chair, what this is about, and I try to really put this in a perspective, and I'm going to share a short story here with you. This year, I've really had a trying year with this. I've been doing it 19 years, and this was the first year I really thought maybe I won't be back next year. And it's elevating. This sort of behavior is elevating for referees. I was at a local high school in St. Paul, I'll give you that much of it, and I knew it was a close call. I knew that the coaches probably are not going to agree with it, and like Representative Nash said, you know, there are those bad calls, not too many for me, the Representative Nash, but it could have been a bad call. But I knew the coach was going to come at me, and I expected that. What I didn't expect was the next person that came at me was the person that identified as the associate athletic director at the high school. Wanted to do a show on the middle of the floor with me, and that's my protector. That's the person that gets me out of the gym when all else fails. And my protector was gone. And that set the tone for the second half of the game. We have to stop this. This is ridiculous because what my job out there is, on the floor, out in the field, is about our kids. It's about them having the best experience they can have. It's not about me. It's not about the coaches. It's about our kids getting fulfilled when they go out there. And when you see this as an official, it's the synergy's there. It's very electronic. I can't explain what it's like. When you see a play that the kids work so hard to get and they have a successful score or successful try, it's unbelievable what happens on that floor and the spirit picks up. And even if the team's losing and you can step in as an official and say, you know, this score didn't go your way, guys or girls, but you know what? You played a heck of a game, and I'm real proud to be out here working with you. And that makes a difference. And that's what every referee does in the state. But we're losing them. And this is part of the reason we are losing them is because they don't feel they're getting the support they need. And we need to train more. We have programs in high schools I just heard about this morning. We have programs at colleges. But I would encourage any of you around this table to become an official. Talk to me if you're interested. So, Mr. Chair, with that, I thank you for listening to the bill today, and I hope we can get it on its way.
We did have one more question, Representative Freiberg.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Sorry for jumping in late. But I was looking at the definition of youth athletic activity on line 1.20. It's tied to another statute, so I looked that up. And it says youth athletic activity means any sport or other athletic activity related to competition, practice, or training exercises, which is intended for youth athletes. As the quiz bowl coach at Plymouth Middle School, I guess I feel like I have to rep the sort of more non-traditional activities, and I'm just wondering, I was actually moderating a quiz bowl tournament last weekend in Mounds View, and I was just wondering and everyone was well behaved. It wasn't, there were no problems or anything like this, but I'm just curious, and I don't know if this is a question for you, Representative Hewitt, or for your testifier, or for House Research, but I'm just wondering if activities like Quiz Bowl would fall under this.
Representative Hewitt.
Mr. Chair, Representative Freiberg, yes, that was the intention, and we're hoping to get this right so we include all youth activities. This bill actually goes all the way down to the youth level, and then goes all the way up to the high school level, and it would include things such as quiz bowls, debate, dance competition. It's unbelievable, and everybody thinks that they're totally exempt from some kind of spirited ban, but they're not. And I have heard horror stories. And so we want to just send the message, and I hope that's what this does today, to let them know that we as legislators are working on something to keep our kids safe and to make sure their experiences when they do decide to take place in extracurricular activities is going to be right. And so I don't care what activity it is, but it should be covered in here to make sure they're going to be safe. And if we have one of those people that get out of hand, well, then they might end up with a $1,000 fine. And a safe means also, we have had situations where there was like fans that were bantering really badly of other teams. That could be considered too. And that's why we got to get this right. That's why the Amateur Sports Commission has to dive into this and make sure that we're doing it right and make sure how it's levied is fair and equitable.
Members, the bill is being laid over, so I'd encourage you, if you have additional questions, to work with the author on those. Representative Hewitt, are you renewing your motion that House File 3352 as amended be laid over?
Mr. Chair, I am.
The bill is laid over.